All right, Tom's been waiting patiently, Pastor Steve on Facebook Live, from Pennsylvania, which is way cool.
Hey, Tom.
Thanks for tuning in, man. Appreciate you watching the show. He says, why are Jews scared to write the name of God?
You know what? They're not scared to write the name of God, and so.
Can you explain that? Because when
Yeah.
you're talking about the Old Testament scriptures and,
Right.
and texts, when they're writing Jehovah and those things, there's like these weird things that go on with that. So
Right.
what's going on?
So what would happen when they were going through the Old Testament text, when they came to the name Jehovah, what we call Jehovah, it's actually 4 letters in Hebrew, and they transliterate to YHWH, and that's where you get the term Yahweh. And I don't want to go through the whole history of how Jehovah came about, but the J was originally a Y sound. And so it has to do with that. So when a scribe would come to the name for God, he wasn't afraid to write it. What he would do is he would take a new quill, and he would dip that in ink, and he would write the name, and then he would go back to another quill and go on with the text. And so they had a special way of writing the name. What they were worried about, Tom, is saying the name. And so when they would go through and read a passage that had the name of God in it, Yahweh, in it, they would replace it with Adonai. And so, for example, in the Shema in Deuteronomy chapter 6, it's Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Well, Adonai isn't in the passage. It's actually the Lord. It's Yahweh in the passage. And so what they're doing is they're replacing the name of the Lord with Adonai. And the reason that they're doing that is because they were afraid of mispronouncing YHWH. And so if you think about that, there's a number of vowels you could put in there. You know what? There's another thing with this, Tom. Hebrew is a consonantal language. Originally, it didn't have vowels, and so it's nothing but consonants. And it wasn't until the Middle Ages that the Jews began adding what are called vowel points into the language. And so Hebrew was a language that you knew how to pronounce when you were reading it because you knew the language itself. You knew what the word was. And so it would be like my name, Steven. Well, in Hebrew, it would be Stvn. And everybody would know that it's Stephen, right? But it could be Stavon, or it could be Stavan, or it could be any. You could start throwing any vowels you want.
I'm trying to picture you as a Stavan. Stavan Winery.
It's winery. Come on. It's only winery when I'm whining. So it's the same thing with Yahweh. And so most likely it was pronounced Yahweh, but it could be Yahweh or Yowo, or there could be there's a number of pronunciations that could be there, and they weren't sure about the pronunciation, and they believed mispronouncing the name of God was taking his name in vain. And so the prohibition wasn't on writing the name of God; it was on mispronouncing the name of God. Now that's in the text. Mm-hmm. Nowadays, when you see a Jew writing the word God, what they will do is they'll go G and do like a slash and then do D. And that has to do with the same attitude. They're being reverent. They don't want to take God's name in vain and that kind of thing. And so it's not something that's commanded in Scripture, but that's where it comes from. They don't want to take God's name in vain.
Awesome. Thanks for posing, Tom. Appreciate it.